Hey everybody, welcome back. I thought today would be really fun to do a August garden tour. I did one in June and haven't done one since because there's just been so much going on around here that it's hard to share everything. But now with August coming into full swing, it means that all of my veggies are starting to get ready to be harvested. So I'm also going to bring a bowl along with me, so if we find anything together that needs to be harvested, we could do that. And I'm also going to show you my flower garden in the front. It doesn't look anywhere as good as it did in my June video, but we've actually been going through a drought here in Ottawa, so my plants are really showing the stress of the drought, so I am going to show you that too. And our grass is brown and crunchy to walk on. It's incredibly dry compared to previous years where we've had a ton of rain. So it's been really confusing to get used to watering schedules when every other year I've never had to water before because of how much rain we get. So also a lot of my gardens are going to show that failure from me not watering enough. But that's the reality of gardening. Not everybody's perfect, and I am going to show you a lot of my failures and a lot of ugly parts to my garden and some funny, weird things that have been going on around here too. So I hope you do enjoy today's tour. If you do, make sure to hit that subscribe button, give it a thumbs up, and leave a comment below where you're watching from because I'd love to hear. And if you're new here, my name is Bree from Urban Gardening Canada, and I garden in Ottawa Zone 5. So with that, let's go to the front garden together. So I don't know what's going on around here, and luckily for you guys, you can't smell through the lens, but there's some really weird smell going on in my neighborhood. As soon as I stepped outside, I was like, ah, what's that smell? Oh, a swallowtail. Okay, while I was trying to catch that video for you guys, there was a mosquito that kept flying in my ears, like, and then I watched a wasp chase the butterfly away. I've never seen that before. All right, let's walk through this crunchy grass over to what I want to show you guys, which is something I'm like so surprised by. So embarrassingly, it took me until only 2 days ago to realize just how much of a drought that we're in. And a couple things that I noticed was one of my flowers is actually, it's not even gonna flower. It just dried up. And then the second thing I noticed was when I was walking across my grass that it was crunchy. And then this is the third thing here that I'm going to show you that really was like, oh yeah, we're going through a drought and we need to water more. And now every time I go for a walk, I just realize how brown everybody's yards are. It's crazy. So let me just show you this. All right, so I showed this to you guys in the spring and it was looking so much better, but this is my spiderwort and it literally just collapsed and died from how dry it is because I don't really water this section of my garden very much, and you can honestly see how yellow the grass is. Like, that's how dry it is here. So I saw this and I was like, oh no, I need to start watering. Thankfully, the catmint is still in full bloom. But my daisies, these tipped over in a massive rainstorm and then they never really picked up again. And now I'm starting to think that this is related to the spiderwort where they just tipped over from lack of watering and lack of rain. So I am going to start watering this section a lot more, but I'm sad. I don't think this is coming back this year. So unfortunately, this is the end of the spiderwort for this year, and next year I'm going to do a better job of watering. So another good example of how dry out it is these Rudbeckia. They are also just looking a little burnt up. A lot of the leaves and the petals here are all browning and drying out. So again, I was just feeling very optimistic that we were getting enough rain or that the flowers would do just fine on their own, these perennials, but they do need some more help, so I am going to start watering these more. But otherwise, like, look how beautiful they are, and the bees are slowly starting to come out, which is nice, but they're still not totally packed with bees, which would be a lot nicer of a sign to see. So this is the rest of my garden. There is echinacea blooming and some black-eyed Susans, and my daisies, I'll show you in a second here, are already done. I've deadheaded most of them, but otherwise, there isn't actually a ton that's blooming around here. A little bit of the black-eyed Susans, some blazing star liatris, and the echinacea. And I have a few zinnias as well that are looking really cute. and the yarrow, of course, back here that you saw. So most of this is really perennial natives as much as possible, which is what's really helping me in this drought that's happening, that they can stay and keep blooming even though they're not getting watered. However, I am gonna start watering more, like I said. So let me just show you some little cute videos of what's in bloom. Here's my daisies that are all not blooming anymore that I deadheaded. And then this is a new zinnia mix that I'm trying, and I think it's called Under the Sea, and it's so cute and so tiny. This is the smallest zinnia I've ever grown before. And then here's my echinacea, and it's looking really beautiful, and a nice beautiful bumblebee lady right there. Some daisies, some yarrow, and then I have some straw flower here, which I really like to grow because I dry them and put them in the house. Here's another pink one with a bee inside. And then this is a new marigold that I'm growing. It's like yellow or limey. I'm not quite sure what the variety of this one is called. And then I have this beautiful like peachy zinnia here. And then this kind of looks like the yarrow, but this is actually status that I've got here. And then I have a purple status here as well. And I also grow these ones specifically to dry and bring in the house. So I'm looking forward to that. And then I've got some pincushion flowers here. And then this is exactly what has dried up this over here. I'll show you in a second. But look at these. Yuck. Look at these beautiful zinnias. This is the Bennery's Giant, and this is exactly what I grow for cut flowers, but I haven't cut any of them this year. Just been really busy. But you can see here, I'm hoping that this one will actually go to flower, and we started watering yesterday, but this other one here, and I don't know. I can't tell if it's not going to flower or that's the beginning of it flowering. And I'm hoping that is actually just the beginning of it flowering, because that'll make me really happy because they smell so nice. So this is actually really funny because I've never grown in a garden this size before. So I didn't really think about it is 2 feet by 4 feet, I think. And I never really thought about just how small it was and that you need to treat it more like a container than growing in the ground. So this is constantly dried out. Over and over again, I keep on drying it out, so I need to learn to water it more. But I have some red celery in here, and it's not doing very good because I've been doing such a poor job of watering. And then I have a couple bell peppers in here, but these are larger varieties, so they don't really perform that well. This one only had 2 fruit on it, and it has no flowers, so this is actually quite a useless plant for me. But I have a ton of tomatoes here and a cucumber plant in the back. But the weird thing is that this is yellow cherry tomatoes, and I never planted those. So I think I had an experience of seed gate because I planted a bunch of Principe tomatoes for sun drying, and all I got was a bunch of yellow tomatoes, and I'm a little upset about that. Like, I did not plant these. And I don't even like raw tomatoes, and I find yellow tomatoes to be way too mild. So I don't even know what to do with these because I had plans of sun drying. So I think I'm gonna sun dry them anyways and see what happens. Oh, and I have a cute little radish back there. So here is the pepper. And then this is, I'm pretty sure, a Cherokee purple tomato. So that's gonna go to my neighbor. Whoop. And then here is my cucumber plant. It has given me a total of 2 cucumbers so far, and that's it. But there is one coming. All right, so moving on to here, this is my failure. So this was planted with a bunch of spring veggies, and it did really quite nice. But now there's nothing in here. These are beets that I planted in the springtime that I never have pulled up yet. And then I sowed new peas in here, but because I've been doing such a bad job of watering them, they're kind of like looking sad. The weeds are actually bigger than the bees, but whatever. So really all I have in here is curly kale, and then I have a few carrots that I can be pulling up shortly, but really from the looks of it, I have maybe like 5 carrots in there. So then in this garden it had the broad beans, but the broad beans had some kind of disease on them, like a chocolate spot or something like that. So I really almost got no broad beans out of it. But thankfully I had planted these nasturtium with it, and they smell so nice. And after that I sowed some carrots, some radishes, and some beans in there. But something went wrong with the beans, and a lot of them came out of their seeds looking like they're dead. And again, I did such a bad job of watering. So I have some carrots right there. And then these are all of my radishes that I have not been watering properly. And then this bean here and this one are the only one that popped up. And the rest of them just died back. But I had plans of this entire garden being filled with beans. And instead it lays empty like this. And then in here we had a bunch of dill and lettuce that Colin pulled out, and I just haven't planted anything in here yet, so that's empty. But this is our Swiss chard and our kale from the springtime, so they now have a lot more space to grow, because this is actually like really, really small for a Swiss chard plant. They should be way bigger than this. So hopefully now that they have space and sunlight, they'll do better. And this is my currant tree that I keep covered because otherwise the Japanese beetles love it. So why not keep it covered? This is doing incredibly amazing. Okay, so this is doing amazing. This is my zucchini plant. I have a Swiss chard in here. I have 3 celery that are in here. And so to be honest, this is way too tightly packed for the celery because they're such a heavy feeder and they like water. This has been way too tight for them. Oh, more Japanese, so many Japanese beetles. I don't have my bowl of soapy water on me right now, so I just flick them off, but I have 2 eggplants back here. I have what's supposed to be a ground cherry, but I'm starting to feel like it's a tomatillo because I've never ever grown a ground cherry this size and with so few fruit on it for how big it is. And then back here I have pumpkins and cucumbers, so let me show you. So the Swiss chard and the celery, and then look at the size of this ground cherry. Like this does not, I bought this because none of my ground cherries worked, but I don't really feel it was labeled as a ground cherry. Like I bought it as a seedling, but I'm pretty sure this is a tomatillo because this is way too big. So then I have my normal zucchini here, and then over where this stick is and all of what you see down here, this was a vertical zucchini that I tried. Oh, a squash beetle. Guys, I've never seen one of these in my home garden before, ever. This is the first time I've ever seen one here. And it gives me the heebie-jeebies. We're going in for the kill. Blah. Well, since I have my Japanese beetle bowl, I may as well kill some more Japanese beetles. Unless they haven't found their way back yet. The daily life of a gardener. I can't believe I found a squash beetle. I hope that that's the first and only one and he never comes back. So this is an escalorado or a vertical zucchini, and I literally hate it. It grows like a pumpkin, so it comes all the way across here, and then we've wrapped it through the garden, and this is it here, and this zucchini here is off that vertical one. So we literally just are trying to wrap it as far as we can around the garden because it's so huge. But apart from that, we have that zucchini there, and then I've got my pickles coming in here. I know I have one to pick somewhere near this white. Oh, here. Ta-da! because I grow pickling cucumbers, so it's to eat for pickles. And then I have clearly another one right there. And this guy is my pumpkin. So you can see him-ish. The lighting is terrible. But there is a second pumpkin behind that cucumber right there that I still have to tie up. So I did not realize I was growing a pumpkin in my garden. And then when I figured out what it was, I grew it vertical up this trellis here. I thought it was a delicata. So now it's hooked up like a little hammock to help support it. And then I also have some bush delicata in here. Like I totally overplanted this space. It's way too full. But I am trying to keep myself away from too many bees. You can see the delicata right there. Looking good. And then I have 2 pepper plants here, which was a mistake because they're being totally shaded out by my tomato plants, as you can see here. And same situation as up front. I have, again, another tomato that's yellow that I swear I did not plant. So I'm a little frustrated about that. So I have this tomato back here, and we just called it the Thunder Bay Giant because I bought it at a farmer's market in Thunder Bay, and we don't know the variety of it. It's an Amish variety, and that's about as much as we know. But it's literally like there's multiple. Oh, I didn't realize that there's 3. There's 4 of them, and they're literally the size of my hand. I can't believe just how big they are. So that's exciting. I'm just waiting for them to ripen. And so before I show you the rest of my garden, I want to show you the back here. So this is a variety that I thought was a paste tomato, but apparently it's a mini version of paste tomatoes, which is hilarious because I thought I was going to be making a bunch of sauce this year. But this is called San Marzito, and it's a mini version of the San Marzano. But like, this is ridiculous. I've never grown one that has this many clumps on it. So it's just starting to ripen. So I don't know what I'm going to do with them now because I thought I was going to be making pasta sauce, but that's not happening. And then back here, oh, here's a bean. I do have a couple beans that are growing, but most of them got eaten down by pests, by a groundhog or something. So over here, I am growing shishito peppers, and these are easily the best peppers that you can grow if you grow in a cold climate like we do here in Canada, because they put out these small peppers here, and they put out like hundreds of them. So we're harvesting from these plants constantly. I think we have about 6 plants, and you can get like a dinner's worth of peppers every single night with these. So I absolutely love growing them. We can harvest some together. We harvested these yesterday. So whatever I pick today is a perfect example of just how fast that these grow. And you don't wait for them to turn red. You can, but you don't have to. You can harvest them when they're green. And I prefer to get them when they're a little bit smaller, because the bigger that they grow, the more seeds that they have in them. And so they're not as tasty because you're going to roast them whole. And then you just eat them whole, like right off the stem. So they're like a really nice pepper that you just put on the barbecue, which is perfect for this time of the year when a lot of times you are cooking on the barbecue. So if you are struggling with growing peppers successfully, then I definitely recommend starting to grow shishitos, because this is literally every single day you're pulling this many out. And I'm sure I didn't even get them all. And then this is another one that I'm like so happy about. Do you see how many jalapenos are on this one plant? I have 2 jalapeno plants here. Look at the number of jalapenos on just this one single plant. As far as the eye can see, it's fully loaded. And then I have a second jalapeno plant here, which the shade is making it a little bit harder to see them, but they're 2 different varieties. So that one's red, and I'm pretty sure that this is a lemon variety, so it'll turn yellow as it goes, as it starts to ripen. And then I have one single Lysianthus here. Someone gave me a whole pack of seeds, but by the time they made it to me, all of the seeds had been crushed, except for a few. So I started off with like 6 and they slowly died down until I ended up with 1. Here I have some green celery. So you can really see it here. The lighting is not great, but you can see it here. And this is a little bit bitter right now because I've been underwatering it from the drought. And then I have endless eggplants. And so I'm going to be doing a video for you guys on how to grow eggplants. So this is one of my favorite views because you can see all the varieties back there. I have Littlefinger over here. I'm growing tons and tons of varieties because I love it so much. So you can see all of them growing here. This is a long Italian. And then I have, here's a better view of the Littlefingers. So you can see groupings of them there. And then this one is called Casper and it just started to put out fruit. And then back here is harder to see. These are called Listata, so we've already eaten one of those. Again, you can see them here. So I'm super, super excited about how these eggplants are doing, and I'm going to give you guys a video on how to grow these. And then next up are my sweet potatoes. So these are the purple sweet potatoes, or ube, from the Philippines or Hawaii. So I'm really, really excited. I got to harvest a lot of the leaves here, and then at the end of August, I'll probably harvest the actual potatoes. And then on this side are your typical orange sweet potatoes and Japanese yams. But you can see the difference here. So this one has the same number of plants that this one has. But this one is totally crowded over with greens, and this one isn't. This one's being targeted way more by the Japanese beetles, and it's just not filled out quite the same. So one of the two obviously isn't great for our climate, but you never know until you try. So when I dig them up, I'll know whether it's the orange or the Japanese yam that didn't do as good. But this one looks like I'm going to get a nice good harvest this year, so I'm really happy about that. This is my comfrey that I use for natural fertilizer, which I haven't really pulled off of it this year because it was struggling all springtime, so I've just been giving it a rest, but it's starting to pick back up again, so I might harvest off of it. And then these are my raspberries, and these are pretty well done now. They also are struggling because of the drought. I haven't been watering them properly, so a lot of the canes are just like tipping over and breaking at the base, which isn't great. But I have like a gold variety here. If you don't grow gold raspberries, you are doing everything wrong, because the gold raspberries are so much better than the red ones. So I really recommend trying the gold raspberries because you'll be fighting over them at home on who gets to eat them. And then I have my hascaps all mixed into here, but those were done long ago. All right, over here, this is my perennial garden that I built last year, and it needs a lot of work. So the first thing is that this garden is really narrow because it's between my cedar trees and my deck. So we weren't able to build the garden very wide. And then we put hostas in there, and the hostas I think were just the wrong choice because A, they're really low so you can't see them from the deck. B, they're green so they just blend in with the cedar trees. And C, they grow really big, and so they're taking up a ton of space in what's already a really narrow garden. So I think I'm gonna pull all the hostas out, and now my only concern is what do I do with them, because nobody ever really wants hostas. So I hope I can give them away for free and that they don't go to waste. And then the odd thing is that this side of the garden right here, everything keeps dying in it. So last year I had planted sedum and a hydrangea cutting, and both of them essentially collapsed and died, which was weird. And this year you can see the hydrangea is getting a little bit better and the sedum is making a bit of a comeback. But I have a globe thistle that came up this year and it just rotted and died. So there's something weird about this side of the garden that I have to try and figure out, or like build up the soil. I'm not sure because I have a globe thistle in the back that's fully blooming right now, so I don't really understand what happened here. But otherwise, my other mistake, beyond not having time to do weeding because there's so many weeds, is that I don't have enough tall plants in here. The whole point was to be able to see them from the kitchen or from the back deck, but we can't see them. So I really need to work on this back garden. But the echinacea and the rudbeckia are slowly taking over. So hopefully they'll start helping to fill out this garden so it can provide food for the bees, but also give us a nice view. Okay, so here is this really sweet lime zinnia. It's a lime blush zinnia, but it got attacked really bad by earwigs when it was a seedling. So it's not doing super great, but it's kind of pretty. So it's pretty nice. But here is the sedum that totally failed last year. And then this is slowly getting better now. But like, look at this globe thistle. That's so wild. It was growing. It obviously was about to set flower and then it just died. So I'm not really sure what it is about this corner of the garden. But you can see clearly for how narrow it is that the hostas were just the wrong choice here. And then I have like massive weeds like this one. I need to get to it, but I've actually been sick lately, kind of going in and out of the hospital, so I just haven't had a lot of time to work in the garden. So here, these beautiful flowers, and then the globe thistle. Look at that. Isn't it beautiful? Now I just wish that we could get a butterfly over here. And then this is my bird bath, and it has purely, I haven't seen any birds in it lately. This has essentially just been providing water to a wasp's nest. You can see the wasp right there at the bottom there. The only people that use it are wasps. So obviously there's a wasp's nest nearby. And then my hydrangeas. This was a cutting I took off the side of the road from somebody's driveway, and it says the first year it bloomed, which is exciting. And then here's a perfect example. So in this space, I have a hosta, a sedum, a hydrangea, a lavender, irises, and then now echinacea that I didn't plant that obviously self-seeded here, and then another hosta. Like, this is just, it's a disaster. So I need to figure this out. But I just don't have the time or energy right now to do it. So it's a future thing. And then here, we're working on siding our shed. So I have to go to Home Depot and get a paint color that matches because we're not going to side the doors, so I'm going to paint them. But it's starting to look really cute and more like a little mini house than this ugly shed. Okay, and next up is this wooden raised bed garden. So this garden we've had a lot of problems with. So we filled this garden up with edamame because we love to eat edamame and it tastes so much better fresh than you can get it ever frozen at the grocery store. But animals love edamame. And so even though this garden is like 24 inches tall, we found a groundhog that is currently living under our deck can climb up it, and it would eat every single one of the edamame down to like sticks. I was looking one day out the window, and from the doorway I was like, what kind of green sticks did we plant in the garden? Like, that's so weird. And then I realized that every single one of our edamame had been eaten down to the stem, and they were about this big. And it happened where we had a ton of the edamame and dill in there, but the edamame was fighting for light, so it was growing really tall and leggy. So Colin pulled all the dill out, but I guess the dill was hiding the edamame from the groundhogs, so as soon as it became obvious, that's when they all got eaten down. So now this garden is filled with both edamame and ground cherries that all were volunteer plants, and I love ground cherries. I was trying to grow them from seed and they didn't work out, but obviously nature just took care of it for me, so it's full of them. So we pulled out a lot of the like smaller plants but left a lot of the bigger ones in to help protect the edamame from being found by the groundhog, and so far it's worked perfectly. It hasn't come back. And now we're actually getting seed pods in here too, plus I'm getting my ground cherry fruit in here. So I'm really looking forward to both of those growing, and this is a perfect example of using intercropping to help hide plants or disguise them from animals being able to eat them, and it's been working perfectly. So I'll show you guys all the little pods on our edamame, and the fact that they bounced back was really exciting. This is my first ground cherry that's starting to ripen. It's so exciting. I'm sure a squirrel's gonna get to it first. But here's our edamame hidden in here. And here are the pods just starting to grow. So you can see them all down here. So we used up most of we grow these from seed and seed save them every single year. So this is actually seeds from our own garden. So a lot of these we're gonna grow to full size and allow them to dry in order to seed save again, to try and build up what we lost. But here's a larger pod compared to the other baby one. So this is one that we could technically eat almost soon. It's starting to bulge a little bit. So they're all intermingled in here. You can see them all in here mixed in with the ground cherries. And this has been a really good pairing right now to hide the edamame, but they're still being found by pollinators in order to get pollinated, which is really great. And then my final garden bed is the sprout box. So in June, if you saw my video, you would know that this was full of cabbages. But since then, I've done a really bad job of planting it up. We did plant a few edamame in here just as some backup to the ones in the wooden bed in case they didn't grow properly. But really, I'm leaving this one empty because I have to take it all down and rebuild it because of the collapsing. And it's really starting to show here with gaps. So this has to come down. And I did plant some random stuff in here. So this is another one of the supposed ground cherries. This one's so much smaller than the one in my other garden. I planted some carnations because they're some of my favorite flowers and I love their smell. I have a zucchini in here. And then I planted this pepper plant. Ooh, look at all the... Ooh, we got quite the anthill going on here. They are busy. That's going to be fun to dig up. I'm going to get attacked by ants. I planted a pepper back here and it never grew. So, which is weird because last year or the year before I had those mega peppers in here. So it seems very odd, but we're going to call this our fallow garden for this year. But it'll be that much easier for me to dig it up so I can rebuild the panels. All right, so Colin has joined me for the very end of this video, which is exciting. So this is just the end. So this is our raspberry bush. We have red raspberries and black raspberries in here. Oh, a bird. Black raspberries are already done, so we just have some red raspberries. This is a different variety than what we have on the other side. These ones never, even when they're fully ripe, they never get squishy. They stay really firm. And originally when I planted them, I didn't like this variety, but since then I've really gotten into it. So we have to build a better fence around here. It's totally collapsed, but it's really hard to do it in the summertime with the leaves and not being able to see. So we'll wait until the winter time when we can actually see what we're doing and build a fence around it. And in the meantime, I'm eating. Was it good? Yeah, of course. Aren't you going to make a noise and sing? Oh, there's some sexing Japanese beetles. I just wanted to get these. Would you like it? Delish. Ew, no. What? That wasn't even ready. It was like really dark red. It tastes like Japanese beetle. Oh, come on. You're such a jokester. No, actually that tastes nasty. Come on. Okay. So this is our last little area. It's got hostas and ferns. And these ferns are supposed to get really big, but I guess the hostas have taken over and the ferns never really got that large, which is kind of sad. So maybe next year. They were really small cuttings, so maybe they just are really slow to pick up and gain energy. So hopefully next year they get bigger. And then I planted a clematis here, which I've done a poor job of watering, but I did water it today. Kind of, we're hoping that it'll fill up this whole section of the fence here with flowers, because I think to see it from the deck, to see a big wall of blooms would be super beautiful. I don't know what color it is. Oh, it's like a nice dark purple. So it grew a little bit and then stopped growing because I wasn't watering it, but hopefully it'll pick up in the fall time so that way it can come back next year. And otherwise, that's our whole garden tour. There's a lot going on between things not growing, things growing weird, weeds everywhere, everything's out of control, but that's the reality of gardening, especially when you're doing veggies and perennials and annual flowers. But otherwise, I hope you did enjoy today's video, and if you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and check out this one here. All right, bye.